Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. And now if you are following me regularly, you've probably noticed that lately I have been uploading kind of mixed content videos. I just want you to know that this channel will still mainly be focused on true crime. However, I love to talk about everything and anything, and I can't keep up organizing videos for different other channels, so I just thought it's better for me in my organizing of things to keep all videos in one channel. So anyway, let's go back to a true crime case today. Robert David Freegard was born in Dronfield, Derbyshire on 1st of March 1971. Raised by his mother, Robert and his sister moved from town to town throughout their childhood. Robert's former classmates remember him as a socially awkward child who kept to himself and enjoyed pranks. Robert struggled in school, and at 14 years old he decided to drop out. The story of Robert Freegard's fraud begins in his hometown when he began dating a 26-year-old schoolteacher named Alison Hopkins. The relationship ended in 1992 when Alison discovered he had stolen her credit card and cleaned out her bank account despite bragging to her that he was extremely wealthy. She also gave him a loan of £1,500, equivalent to about £4,000 in 2022, for business startup costs, but he simply pocketed the money. Broke and feeling tricked, Alison tried to end the relationship. Robert reacted so viciously that Alison left town. She moved 200 miles away to Newport, Shropshire. When he found out, he followed her to Shropshire. Alison was terrified to find her ex-boyfriend allegedly breaking into her house. Robert Freegard, enraged that Alison rejected him, told friends that he was planning to kidnap her. These friends turned him into the police, and Robert Freegard appeared in court on kidnapping charges in January 1993. He then decided to stay in Shropshire for a short time, then find a reason to skip town. And he soon found that reason in the form of 3 students from Harper Adams Agricultural College: Maria Handy, Sarah Smith and John Atkinson. All 3 were from wealthy farming families. The 3 became regulars at the bar where Robert Freegard, who used the name Rob, picked up work as a bartender. Rob started dating Maria in December 1992, and 1 month later he began befriending her roommate, John. One late night at the bar, Robert revealed he wasn't actually a bartender. He was a secret agent working for MI5, the British equivalent of the FBI. He was undercover investigating an alleged Irish Republican Army militia cell at John's College, where one of John's classmates had recently killed himself after being convicted of IRA gun running. "Do you really think he killed himself?" Robert Freegard, then aged 21, asked his new friend. Robert Handy Freegard met his victims on social occasions or as customers in the pub or car dealership where he worked. Having met the victims, he claimed to be an undercover agent working for MI5, the Special Branch, or for Scotland Yard. He applied pressure and psychological stress to his victims, claiming they were threatened with assassination by the IRA, to coerce them into following his demands. The unbelievable events that unfolded next is quite a journey that is described in the 3-part Netflix documentary series The Puppet Master: Hunting the Ultimate Conman, and in nearly endless British press coverage from the mid-2000s. He forced John Atkinson to let himself be beaten up to prove his loyalty and to show that he was hard enough. He also convinced him to behave in a bizarre manner in college to prove his loyalty and to alienate him from friends. He then told John his cover was blown and both of them had to go undercover. He convinced John Atkinson to tell Sarah Smith, who at the time was John's girlfriend, and Maria Handy that he had liver cancer, and convinced them to accompany them in a farewell tour all over England. Robert reveals that they are all now targets of an IRA plot and have to cut contact with their families for their own safety, because they were in danger just through being associated with him. From 1993 to 1995, Robert moved the 3 friends from safe house to safe house, sometimes houses owned by his other victims before he had them settle down at an apartment in Sheffield. They gave him all of their money. He then instructed the three of them to work humble jobs so they could pay Rob's bosses for their protection. Rob was often absent for extended periods of time on business, but in reality he was maintaining his other cons. However, he did find time to have 2 children with Maria Handy, who became his lover. She gave birth to his 2 daughters. She was later beaten up by him, losing one of her teeth. He later abandoned them. One of Robert's stranger cons from their time in Sheffield was his relationship with Simon Young, a jeweler. He convinced Simon to give the mother of his children, Maria, a room for a time and later tried to recruit him into the organization. Robert also sent him to perform spurious missions as training. When the victim's controller seemed excessively amused when told about his trip, he grew suspicious and demanded to see his boss. There was no one in the meeting. He befriended Simon, then told him he was being recruited. He didn't extort any money from Simon, but sent him on various humiliating operations. For one of these operations, he sent Simon on a mission, instructing him as to exactly which doors he should use and which escalators, stairs, and bus routes he should take. He then instructed Simon to ride public transportation, showing off by reading a copy of the Gay Times. Simon was then instructed to purchase a can opener for £1.25, then enter a specific bar establishment and cryptically deliver it to the barman. The barman, understandably, was confused, but Simon was instructed he would be acting this way as a test. One of his most abused victims was Elizabeth Bartholomew, a recently married personal assistant, who met Robert Freegard in 1996 while babysitting his children. When the two of them began an affair, Robert, again being targeted by the IRA, ordered her to cut contact with her family, or he would send explicit photos to her husband. He told her to take up loans, apparently to settle her debts following her divorce, and then made her sleep on park benches. Early in the relationship, Robert began subjecting her to increasingly severe loyalty tests. As a test ordered by his bosses, Robert made Elizabeth, a white woman, dress up in a traditional Indian wedding sari with a bindi and bangles, then ride the public bus. He also ordered her to pretend to be a Jehovah's Witness so his bosses would let him marry her, alter her appearance, and change her last name. By 1997, Robert Freegard had extorted over £300,000 from John Atkinson's family and over £200,000 from Sarah Smith's family. After Robert sent John on another prolonged mission involving a fake letter from Nigel Carter Baines, John, with the help of his family, finally refused Robert's demands. He was able to cut contact in 1997, although not after meeting with Robert one final time when, according to the puppet master, Robert ordered him to strip down to his boxers to check he wasn't bugged. Among Robert Freegard's other victims was Leslie Gardiner, whom he met at a nightclub in Newcastle, introducing himself as an employee of British Nuclear Fuels, whom he defrauded of £16,000 allegedly. He told her that he needed money to buy off IRA killers who had been released after the Good Friday Agreement. She gave him £16,000 over 6 years. He also sold her car and kept the money. The Good Friday Agreement, or the Belfast Agreement, is a pair of agreements signed on 10th of April 1998 that ended most of the violence of the Troubles, a political conflict in Northern Ireland that had ensued since the late 1960s. It was a major development in the Northern Ireland peace progress of the 90s. Northern Ireland's present devolved system of government is based on this agreement. The agreement also created a number of institutions between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and between the Republic of Ireland and the UK. Issues relating to sovereignty, civil and cultural rights, decommissioning of weapons, demilitarization, justice and policing were central to the agreement. The agreement was approved by voters across the island of Ireland in 2 referendums held on 22nd of May 1998. In Northern Ireland, voters were asked in the 1998 Northern Ireland Good Friday Agreement referendum whether they supported the multi-party agreement. In the Republic of Ireland, voters were asked whether they would allow the state to sign the agreement and allow necessary constitutional changes, 19th Amendment of the Constitution of Ireland, to facilitate it. The people of both jurisdictions needed to approve the agreement in order to give effect to it. The British-Irish Agreement came into force on 2nd of December 1999. The Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, was the only major political group in Northern Ireland to oppose the Good Friday Agreement. Even though Robert was mostly absent from Maria Handy, Robert married her and changed his name to Robert Handy Freegard. By this point, the con became financially lucrative. While his wife and 2 children were on the brink of eviction, Robert was spending tens of thousands on luxury goods. He bought a Rolex watch, tailor-made suits, and no less than 7 BMWs. By 1998, Robert Freegard became a regular at the Volkswagen dealership in Chiswick, London, where he noticed his charm worked well on the women, and he decided to get a job there. He used his job at the dealership to find new victims, including Caroline Cowper, Elizabeth Bartholomew, Renata Keister, and Kimberly Adams. In 2000, Robert Freegard, still married to Maria Handy, rekindled his relationship with Elizabeth. After convincing her to take out a £14,000 loan on his behalf and leave, her husband, Robert Freegard, ordered her to go live on the streets as punishment for failing a test. She was ordered to sleep on a park bench in the cold, without a jacket, with no food, no money or sanitary pads, for days or weeks at a time on multiple occasions. Eventually, he stopped having sex with her, but he continued to control her, punish her, isolate her, and give her new assignments, still promising marriage off and on, and in 1996, 1997, and from 2000 until his arrest. Robert also convinced a female company director, Renata Keister, that he was watching someone in the Sheffield car dealership where he was working and convinced her to buy a better car. He sold her original car on his own account, kept the money, and convinced her to take a £15,000 loan for him. He also again asked for a room for the mother of his children because she was supposedly in a witness protection program, and told her that she was Spanish so that the 2 women would not speak to each other. In 2000, Handy Freegard met a lawyer, 34-year-old Caroline Cowper, who was a customer in the car dealership in Chiswick, West London. He helped her change her car, pocketed the difference, asked for more, persuaded her to give more money for a leasing business they would run together, and stole £14,000 from her building society account. They later became lovers and went on holidays all over the world. They then became engaged before her family finally intervened. When the leasing car did not materialize, he told her that the Polish mafia had taken it. In 2001, Maria Handy and her children were evicted. Maria left Robert Freegard later that year after he assaulted her once again. In 2002, Caroline, the lawyer, also left Robert Freegard. After the breakup, she started to investigate his past, and with the help of Sarah's father, finally got the attention of Scotland Yard. Meanwhile, Robert Freegard was already seeing 31-year-old Kimberly Adams, and the 2 became engaged in 2002. Among other strange instructions, Robert made Kimberly quit her job as a school counselor because she had AIDS. He also tried to convince her to move to a lighthouse in the Hebridean Islands for 25 years so the 2 could monitor Russian submarines. By this point, Robert Freegard had stolen over £22,000 from Kimberly Adams, £22,000 from Caroline Cowper, £25,000 from Renata Keister, and £14,500 from Elizabeth Bartholomew. According to The Independent, with the help of a sting involving Kimberly's parents, Scotland Yard, and the FBI, Robert Freegard was arrested in May 2003 and charged with a long list of crimes. First, the FBI bugged the phone of Kimberly Adams' parents. Her mother told Robert she would give him $10,000, but only in person. He met the mother in Heathrow Airport, where police apprehended him. After police located a hotel room in the French Alps containing various missing women's passports, they began to search for his victims. In summer 2003, they found Sarah working for Renata Keister as a housekeeper, having been instructed by Robert Freegard to pretend she did not speak English. The BBC reported that Elizabeth was not located until fall of 2003, when she was found in Danton Bassett, living at a hotel with her body covered in sores. Sarah Smith, John Atkinson, Carolyn Cowper, Kimberly Adams and Simon Young all testified at his highly publicized trial, which took place at the Crown Court at Blackfriars. Robert Freegard initially had 4 lawyers, but 3 quit out of professional embarrassment. In 2005, Robert Freegard was convicted on 20 counts. 2 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of procuring the execution of a valuable security by deception, 5 counts of obtaining money by deception, and 10 counts of theft. He was sentenced to life in prison. In 2007, Robert Freegard appealed the kidnapping charges, arguing that Sarah and John could have left him at any time. In May 2009, Robert won the appeal. The kidnapping convictions were overturned and Robert was released from prison. He served 9 years for the other offences. The Court of Appeal judgment played an important role in defining the modern offence of kidnapping. According to Puppet Master Hunting the Ultimate Conman, Robert began dating a woman named Sandra Clifton in 2012 and is now living somewhere in France or England, working on buying and selling pedigree dogs. In some other reports is mentioned he met Sandra in 2011 when he seduced her through an online dating site. He claimed to work in the media industry, selling advertising space to large companies, and often hinted at the amount of money he had, convincing Sandra of his wealth with expensive gifts and trips. As their relationship developed over the course of the next few years, he gradually manipulated Sandra and her family members through deception, control, and mental abuse, progressively isolating Sandra from her family and friends. Sandra later stopped contact with her 2 children, Jake and Sophie Clifton, and their father, Mark Clifton. Robert Freegard insists he has changed and told the press he is tired of being vilified for senseless mistakes. In 2014, Sandra Clifton moved with Robert Freegard, who now goes by David Clifton, and cut off all contact with her family. And we are seeing the same story again here, just like at the beginning. The interesting Netflix documentary spills the secrets behind Robert Freegard, an international con artist who is allegedly now living in Berkshire. The documentary The Puppet Master Hunting the Ultimate Conman is about Robert Handy Freegard, the conman who controlled, conned and fleeced at least 7 women and 1 man, stealing close to £1 million. As well as detailing his past crimes, the docuseries focuses the attention on a family who fear for their mother's safety. Robert Handy Freegard was jailed in 2005 and labelled the Puppet Master for the control he exercised over his victims. Over 10 years, he duped 7 women and a man, convincing them they were IRA targets and persuading them to cut themselves off from friends and family. Robert's whereabouts is unknown, although the Times said they tracked him down to a house in Berkshire where dogs were shut in a room upstairs. The Netflix documentary will reveal that he is in a relationship with a woman called Sandra Clifton, 49 years old, whose family have not seen her since 2014. Her 2 children, Jake 25 years old and Sophie 28 years old, features in the docuseries where they believe Robert Henry Freegard is coercively controlling their mother. According to the Times, he strongly denied allegations that he was controlling his new partner and said in a written statement that he had been publicly castigated for such a long time for his previous crimes. Pictured for the first time in many years, Robert Handy Freegard didn't want to speak on the record at first. The house had rubbish all over the floor and the dogs were shut in a room upstairs. Later, he phoned a woman he said was Sandra, saved in his phone as Hot Stuff Sandra, and remained on the call, during which she said she was not being coercively controlled by her partner. She did not speak to the reporter independently and would not reveal where she was. Sandra Clifton's daughter, Sophie, told the Times magazine that she felt totally brainwashed by Robert Handy Freegard when he moved into the family home when she was younger, causing her to cut her father out of her life. The Puppet Master, Hunting the Ultimate Conman, is available now on Netflix. If you guys want to watch it, is on Netflix. I mean, when you hear all these stories together, they sound like, you know, very childish stories and very hard to believe. However, we know very well how manipulative some people can be and how convincing. It seems to me that apart from the obvious financial reason behind these cons, Robert actually had fun doing this. Sounds like a narcissistic trait, perhaps. He loved manipulating all his victims. He enjoyed bullying them into doing all of these ridiculous missions. He cared about no one apart from himself. And in my humble opinion, I think he still loves it to this day. I'm not sure that a narcissist can ever change. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please let me know what do you think in the comment section down below, and also please don't forget to make sure you give this video thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever way you prefer. Either way, it's free, doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me and my channel. Thank you again so much. Take care and stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.